Hi, going live here and realizing I'm stuck. I can't close out my message, so you might hear some dinging, or at least I can't figure it out. Okay, let's see if anyone's signing on. Hey, Tori. Do you like my description? Good morning. Let me know how you're doing as you sign on. Give me some comments so I can see. Hey, Brandy, I feel like this always takes a while to kick off. Hey, Naomi. Good morning. Good morning. We're going to let some kind of the average sign on for our coffee hour. Gosh, I wish I could close out. I just read a message that I'll tell you about in a minute. Hi, hi, hi. Wait for some others. Feeling fabulous and blessed. Hey, Matt. Yeah, it takes a minute. There's like a delay. It's not really truly live. Hi, Tiffany. I'm so tired too. I'm very tired. Believe me. Let me see here. I'm trying to close out things on my computer. I'm not very prepared. I don't have it together very well. Hi, feeling like the quarantine is getting old. I know. Oh man, I know. Man, I really wish I could close things out, but I can't figure it out. I'm not good with technology, apparently. Okay, is anybody else gonna sign on? I feel like it's not even showing me. Oh no, stay on this page. Okay. I feel like it's not really showing me everyone because I'm seeing, well, I won't explain to you. Okay, I'm gonna close out a couple more and then we'll get going. All right. Well, good morning, guys. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. It is Thursday, I think, and yes, showing up is the whole battle. I am having a hard week. If you're having a hard week, let me know. Looks like I'm in the same place as a lot of people. I'm just having a hard week, and I even thought about asking someone else to do coffee so that I could hide under a rock, but I decided, in the spirit of our community, in which we're always honest and vulnerable with each other, that I would just come on here and say exactly what's going on. And you know, one of the things about our church that we have been founded on forever, which I'm proud of, is that hey Heather, is that we support women in ministry and always have. So we're proud of that in an area where that's not always the case. And so women have always been able to be pastors, obviously, in our church. And so I'm just here to tell you guys that if women can be pastors, it will then follow that pastors will have periods. So, which means pastors have PMS. And so that's where I am. And the reason I want to talk about this today, and if you're a male in this live right now listening, do not turn off this video. Do not do that, especially if you're in our community. You are part of this conversation, okay? So we're about to have it. But I want to first start with a reading from one of my favorite books. This is actually a daily devotional. It is kind of like a devotional. It is Mark Nepo, The Book of Awakening, and there's daily reflections in it. And so I want to read you the one for today, April 2nd. and it's really short. Just if you want to order a book, this is a good one to order. Okay, April 2nd, we share the same river. I was traveling in South Africa and felt very tender one morning when my friend Kim came upon me as I was weeping. She asked if I was okay. I told her it was only the waters of life splashing up on my shore. Later that day, I found her near tears and checked in with her. She said, "The river's now in me." We looked into each other and realized that we all share the same river. It flows beneath us and through us from one dry heart to the next. We share the same river. It makes the earth one living thing. The whole of life has a power to soften and open us up against our will, to irrigate our spirits, and in those moments we discover that tears, the water from within, are a common blood, mysterious and clear. We may speak different languages and live very different lives, but when that deep water swells to the surface, it pulls us to each other. We share the same river, and where it enters, we lose our stubbornness, the way fists wear open when held under the stream of love. So, hi guys, hi new joiners. Some of you missed the beginning, go back and watch. So I just read a little excerpt that I'm calling "We Are One River" from April 2nd in Mark Nepo's book, The Book of Awakening. And I wanted to read that because we love speaking the message of oneness in our community. And I think now more than ever, we need that message. But today, just right here where I am, a pastor having coffee, I happen to be a pastor who is PMSing. And it bothers me that I need to push that away and no one ever know about it. It bothers me that I have to laugh afterwards because it has to be a joke. It bothers me that we aren't supposed to talk about those kinds of things, right? And so I was thinking about this and some of my pet peeves, and I have the pet peeve that I call it copy and paste ministry. I have the pet peeve that women pastors have this expectation set on them a lot, that we're supposed to just copy and paste everyone's just their kind of subconscious understanding of what a pastor is. So even if you're a person who, yeah, thanks Janet, PMS is no joke. Even if you're a pastor who or a person who really supports women ministers or whatever, it's really easy to kind of copy and paste the pastor you grew up with and how those pastors operated and put them onto women. And so it's one of my pet peeves, and one of my personal goals is to push against that at all times. And there's a lot of messaging, unhealthy gender norm messaging that happens with that. But the other pet peeve I have applies to all of us, not just women pastors or our relationship with pastors. And that is just this idea that some conversation is women's talk, some conversation is men's talk. And while we all have spirit people in our lives that understand each other in a deep way, and oftentimes those might be people who identify as our same gender, this conversation to me is for all of us, and I want to tell you why. So PMS. That's where I'm at. And I want all of us to participate. PMS. That is where I am at. So a lot of times we're not supposed to talk about our periods, right? Because it's gross, or it's some sign of weakness or something, or it's women's talk. But obviously, I think we're all smart enough and complex enough to know that this isn't true. The period is obviously a time of strength for women, but if there is a moment of weakness in the whole women's cycle, it is the PMS moment. But let's not call it weakness, okay? Let's call it vulnerability. And that's what I really want to talk about today, is vulnerability. PMS, to me, is vulnerability realized. It is nature's way, it's your body's way of telling you to slow down, to take care, to listen to your body, and not just to listen to it, but to honor it and do what it says. And in doing so, you will often need to defy productivity culture. Can you see how this can be a message? In listening to what your body is telling you, no matter who you are, you will often have to then defy productivity culture. And on the other side of that is release. And on the other side of that is real power, because you first chose self-compassion, which is the first practice of Imago Dei, Spirit of God, us made in the image of God. So it begins, this moment of power for women, it begins in a place of vulnerability. And I wish that this wasn't weird to me. I wish that it didn't take courage for me to get online and talk about this, because I would rather would have hid under a rock, or it's the kind of conversation we're not supposed to have in mixed company. I wish that we would all share the real parts of ourselves more often. And so this is the lesson for us today. It's a simple lesson, just a reminder, a call to vulnerability, because I think our church can lead the way in this. That's one of the things that our community is already good at. Part of our changing the narrative in unhealthy gender norms, in unhealthy church cultures, in unhealthy family systems as a sacred community has long been through the act of embracing vulnerability. And right now, what's happening in our world? We are collectively vulnerable. There is not one person who isn't touched by what's happening. There is not one person who isn't susceptible to catching this virus that's going around. We are all collectively vulnerable. And so to lean into the strength of what that means is that this is a really great opportunity for us to weave the habit of vulnerability and openness amongst so many others in our lives into our daily rituals and rhythms. And after all of this, people keep saying, after this is over, well, I wish we could tell you when it's going to be over. We really don't know, and that's hard. But I hope that one of the habits that we can kind of ingrain into our lives is more honest, open vulnerability. And I hope that we can practice it so good right now so that on the other side of this, we can continue to operate that can continue to be one of the ways that one of the habits that we bring with us into this new world we're gonna inherit after all of this is said and done. And so I really want to read through there's too many. Okay. So basically it's overcast here today, and it's supposed to be raining, and Nepo in his reflections, he gives some notes that you can kind of practice based on the reflection each day. And one of the things he suggests is sitting and watching a stream or a brook as you meditate on the life that we're all connected to as one. Now, we may not have that ability to do that, but if you do have the ability to go and sit by water today, I invite you to try and do that. Or if you're like me and you live in our area, it's going to rain. Let the rain trickling down the street be your reminder of our connectedness, of our collective vulnerability right now. Noticing how the water touches everything. And he says, as you breathe, feel the life of everything swell through you. And so, like I said, I'm not super prepared today. This is just all off the top of my head for the most part. I jotted a couple of notes down. But I hope that something that I said sticks with you. And pray for me. I need prayer today, and I'm asking for it. So one of my favorite things to think about is when we first started our church, how we would create the liturgy for the very first time, and that was 8 years ago. And I grew up Catholic, so I grew up, I mean, you might be able to tell, I grew up with icons and with litanies and liturgy and the lectionary and all of that rich tradition. And so when we started the church, I really wanted to add that to our church service. I didn't know how to find liturgy and litanies that really were in sync with our spirit and our culture. And I would spend hours every week scouring the internet looking for prayers people had written that lined up with the lectionary or that spoke to where we were, that were more modern, and they didn't exist. And so when Fran started writing litanies, it was like, perfect. I mean, she is truly doing something that nobody is really doing quite like her, which is writing litanies that are modern, speaking to what's going on today, and of course following the lectionary, which is helpful for so many church communities. And so when she started doing that and we started using her litanies, it was a real blessing. But the thing that I learned from her through this was, if there's not a prayer out there, write your own. Write your own. You can do it. Like, I don't know why I never felt that permission to just write them ourselves. And so Fran gave me the permission. And so part of the reason why I'm off the top of my head is because when I came to sit down to prepare this morning, instead of looking over notes or preparing like I might say, I wrote a litany for PMS. And so I'm going to end with it. And honestly, this thing for right now, this is for anybody to read. There's only one line, which I put an asterisk by, that is very specific to PMS. But for those who have seen how much harder it is in a pandemic, this is for you. But this is all of us as about our little coffee hour. So I'm going to read it as a prayer over us, and I love you guys. I'm going to just get right off after I read it. So, Litany for PMS. God, giver of life, you gave me this body, every bit of it whole, inhabited by spirit, Imago Dei. In this liminal space of becoming, of almost release, of almost power, of almost freedom, teach me, O God. Teach me to listen to my body. Teach me to love my body. Teach me to honor my body. Teach me to care well for my body. May I hear the divine message that is spoken to me and within me when I am emotional, when I am tired, when I am burdened, when I am cramping and bloated, when I am at my wit's end. May I lean into vulnerability with humility, with faith, and good humor. May I lean into the beauty of Imago Dei, now and in the week to come. I can't wait to look through all those comments. I will talk to you guys later, and tomorrow Matt will be back with another Coffee with the Pastor.